Welcome back here, everyone. Many times on my channel I've talked about how Disney and their live action remakes are just horrible. The ones that they have coming out are terrible. The ones that some of the ones that they brought out are just terrible. It's just complete garbage. It's one of the worst movies that you could imagine being put out. What they had before was good, but they just want to mess it up and expect you to love it. Some people have said that I've been too harsh, some people have said that I was wrong, some people have said that all sorts of this. But I'm not the only one saying it. And film critic Chris Gore is of the same belief, and he has come out and literally eviscerate everything that they have that Disney is putting out. This article here from Bounding Into Comic, film critic Chris Gore eviscerates Disney's live action remakes. These are the worst films of our time. And he's right, he's quite 100% right. Film critic and a regular guest on the YouTube show Friday Night Tights, Chris Gore took the Walt Disney Company and its live action remake films to task by declaring them the worst films of our time. Gore's comments came as part of an interview with the YouTube channel Film Courage, where he was asked, "What do you love about Disney live action remakes?" He responded, "I don't love anything about Disney live action remakes. I think these are the worst films of our time that represent everything wrong with factory filmmaking and studio executives and lawyers deciding they need to make a movie to somehow preserve the intellectual property." Well said. Could not have done it better myself. Well said. Gore continued, "The Disney live action remakes, with the exception of a few, I would say The Jungle Book by Jon Favreau, but almost all of them have been incredibly unwatchable." I actually watched The Jungle Book. It wasn't bad. I will say so, it wasn't bad. It had some issues about that I didn't really take out yet, but it wasn't bad. They did it really well. I will give them that. I will give them that. It was right. It was really done well. Thankfully, the classic films on which their base still exists, films like Pinocchio, Beauty and the Beast and whatnot, the live action remakes have been the worst, he reiterated. Yeah, I mean, why make them in the first place? The original animated movies are really good. They're timeless classics. People love them. Why are you going out of your way to just constantly keep regurgitating these live action failures and act like people are supposed to somehow, jump for joy every time you do it? It's not making sense. He then directed his ire towards Pinocchio. Now, I'm going to be straight up with you here. I have not watched Pinocchio. I thought the trailer looked disturbingly creepy, and I have no interest whatsoever in watching Pinocchio. From people who have seen it, they've said that it's terrible, but I could have told you from just the trailer alone, I had no interest whatsoever in watching it. Don't waste your time to watch it. Let's go on to hear what he has to say. Pinocchio in particular was one that had me specifically angry because it was, first of all, embarrassing at how bad the film was. I was right. It's everything wrong. You're taking the design of the original Pinocchio and rendering it in computer animation, and it's the exact same design. So why do it? Why do it? It was done in animation. It was done in the original Pinocchio animated movie. Why do you feel the need to make some kind of computer animation crap that looks exactly like what you already have? Continues on. You get Tom Hanks to play Geppetto. It's interesting, in the original animation of Pinocchio, you have Geppetto, and he's so excited to have a young boy, a son. Well, he was a lonely old man, he wanted a son, so he made Pinocchio, and then, the whole story, what he had a moving puppet, and then Pinocchio became a real boy, okay. But when you take these concepts from animation, 2D animation, and put them into live action, there's something about it that is at the very least unsettling. He notes of a live action Tom Hanks dancing with joy that he has a young live boy that's his. Okay, that sounds really creepy. It goes on. I don't know how long of a dramatic pause I can put there after saying those words, but hopefully I did that. Hopefully I put a long enough dramatic pause because that sounds very unsettling to me. But there's something about it that just seems weird in live action. Yes, it does. That sounds very, very weird, and thank God I didn't watch that until I saw the trailer, and I knew this thing was going to be creepy and wrong, and I just didn't watch it. And if you haven't seen it, just stay away from it. After briefly discussing how 2D animation can be used to broach divisive subjects easier compared to live action, Gore returned to shredding the live action Disney films, saying the live action Disney films are just a travesty and sort of represent everything wrong with modern movies today. Literally everything wrong in truth. Just the updating it for modern audiences with unnecessary gender and race swaps, and I think the audiences are beginning to tire of. If they're not fed up by now, I don't know what to tell you, because this is not what these stories are. I've kept saying this before. These people who created these stories had an idea in mind. You come in and say that you're trying to make all these unnecessary gender and race swaps for modern audiences. Who are these modern audiences? Nobody's buying into this crap. I mean, look at Little Mermaid, for instance. They had this thing where they were showing, I think it was on TikTok or something, this little black girl saying that, this is not the Little Mermaid. Little Mermaid is Little Mermaid is white, she's not black. It's common, but they keep saying that, for people to see themselves in it. What the hell do you think was the seed of in this nonsense? We'll continue on it. The live action doesn't really work. It really doesn't. There's certain concepts and ideas that work best in animation. I have been saying this from the beginning. Perhaps that's why The Jungle Book is probably the one that stands out as the most watchable and probably the best of them, because it is all animated. It's all animated with the exception of the young boy, he stated. Yeah, well, maybe that's about it. But my God, these Disney animation translations to live action are a travesty, Yasuti. I feel like I could teach a class where we just watch parts of Pinocchio daily and I tell you why this isn't working. I have no doubt that he really could. To that point, he said, there's even a scene in which Pinocchio trips over a pile of feces covered in flies, and part of me thinks that the feces in Pinocchio with the flies, you could hear the flies. It was like the animators put that in to let us know, yeah, we know too. They are this bad, and that film is just horrific. Well, that sounds terrible. He then opened on why he believes these films are being made. I really get the sense that it's an attorney is saying, look, we need to remake these and we need to brand them to remind people it's somewhat similar to, there was a trend in the 90s to do sequels to classic Disney animated films. Yeah, I remember that, like Cinderella 2, Lion King 2, Bambi 2, all these things, right? And you can probably find them at yard sales in the clamshell VHS casings. You can find the sequels to all the classic Disney animated features, and they're all completely forgettable, and I wish they never existed. Yeah, they did them to do that, but they didn't make any sense. And I would say the same for all of these Disney live action films. It's literally an attorney saying, just do it. It's disappointing to see people like Robert Zemeckis, who on a short list of perfect films made Back to the Future, and then to see Tom Hanks, probably the most beloved actor, you could still call him a star, for them to team up with Disney to make it is horrific, and I just hope that Disney stops, he concluded. Nothing wrong with that. Gore would then be asked to go into further detail about the feces seen in Pinocchio. He obliged, providing the context. Well, Pinocchio is skipping his way to school. He's distracted and happens upon a pile of feces. It's a completely unnecessary thing to happen in the midst of the live-action remake of the classic Pinocchio, to put in this pile of feces. Why? He continued, but I do believe that was not a secret message that the animators decided to add. Why would they do this otherwise? There's no point in it. They do a lot of things a lot of stuff that has no point to it. And I think he probably right, they put in that thing just to show that, you know, this is a pile of feces and this movie is a pile of feces. Gore goes on to declare the pile of feces in a live action Pinocchio is the most likable character. I say that with a straight face. Oh Lord, I'm telling you something. When confronted with the global box office data of a number of the remakes, Gore is questioned about the remakes making financial sense. He concedes, sure, it makes financial sense to remake classic and familiar intellectual property into another form, animation, live action. That makes total sense on paper. I think these films are completely creatively bankrupt and forgettable. Creatively bankrupt, the perfect term for everything that they're literally doing today. And it's unfortunate that audiences would not be more discriminating when it comes to these movies. I just don't think that we're going to be talking about any of these live action Disney remakes far into the future. We'll still be discussing the classic films upon which their base is shared. Gore also dispensed there is definitely a school of thought that will say that the reason that these movies are profitable is that they are effectively babysitters. That would also be a reason for the success. I doubt that at all, really. I despise these films with every fiber of my being, he declared. I mean, I guess the best thing you can say about them is it keeps certain artists employed. Of note, the most recent Disney live-action adaptations have not fared well at the box office. Mulan only grossed $69.9 million. A number of them haven't even made it to the box office, being regulated in Disney Plus streaming services like Pinocchio and Lady and the Tramp. I mean, if you just look at Mulan, for instance, the Mulan animated movie was done so well because she had to struggle. Mulan disguised herself as a man to join the army so her father wouldn't have to. They had the whole song about, you know, I'm going to make a man out of you, and she was doing all these things, and then was found out that she was a woman, and then she got disgraced, and then she came back and saved China, all of that. But in the live action movie that I've only ever seen parts of because I have no interest in watching that crap whatsoever, Mulan was great at everything. She could control her chi, she was an expert fighter, she could do all of this, and nobody cares. The struggle is what brought people to like the character, but you don't want to do that. And people will originally go to see these movies just out of curiosity because, you know, they see, okay, it's a live action thing, let me go and see. When it fails miserably, they run back. Look at Little Mermaid, for instance. They come out calling people racist for having a problem with them race swapping Little Mermaid. And when that movie fails miserably, they're going to come out and say, oh, you know what, the racists made it fail. You have no reason to make this movie. Same thing with the live action Snow White, who isn't white, has some kind of Latina girl, and she's going to be running a company. And it doesn't make any flicking sense, right? The live action remakes will have their metal tested again when the Little Mermaid arrives at the race-swapped Ariel in May 2023, and then when the Snow White films arrives in March 2024. It is nonsense. I mean, even if you look at the last Aladdin film, I didn't even watch that. I'll tell you how these things just make no sense to me. There's no reason for them. This Pinocchio thing was just stupid. I said I saw the trailer, I thought it was creepy as hell, and I wasn't going to watch it. The rest of these are just terrible. This race swap Little Mermaid is not going to work at all. They just need to stop making these god-awful things. That's it. These movies are terrible. Some of the worst movies of our time. Let me know your thoughts on this in the comments. If you have a different opinion, I'd love to hear it. If you like the video, be sure to hit that thumbs up. Subscribe if you haven't already. Ring the notification bell. Be notified every time I put out a new video. And I shall see you all next time. Take care.